So I just want to remind you a little bit about the importance of participating in the class. So even though this is a video, still have your book handy and try to focus on that. Use your notebook, use a pen, and just focus on that. And this is of course important for our classes too. So if you haven't done this already, please make sure you go into Google Classroom. You can search for that in any search engine, and make sure when you go to the Google Classroom website you look for how to sign up for a class. If you can look at this slide, you can see the class codes for all the relevant classes. So if you could sign up for that and before the next time we meet, that would be very useful, because you'll be getting lots of participation points if you complete those tasks in this website. So this particular slide is for class 078. Please make sure you check the dates here. There's of course been a lot of changes due to the coronavirus, but most of the dates will still be correct, especially for midterms, finals and projects. If you have any other questions about the dates, please let me know. This slide is for class 035. Again, all the information here is about the midterms, the finals, the projects. Some of the dates weren't decided because of the problems with the virus, but if you have any questions, please ask me on Kakao or in the classroom or through my email. These dates are for class 048, and if you could send me any requests for information if it's not very clear through this slide, and also hopefully the slide will be correct with regards to the dates for the finals, the projects, the midterms and things like that. This slide is about the information with regards to midterms and finals. So if we haven't done the midterms yet, please look at those this slide and check out the pages and the units that need to be covered. I've given for the midterms units 1, 2, 3 and 4, and in unit 1 you can see the vocabulary is on pages 7 to 9, and the grammar I think is on pages 19 and 20. For the finals we are doing units 5, 6 and 7, and you can see all the pages are outlined there for the grammar and the vocabulary. Don't forget to log on to the Google Classroom and onto Kakao Open Chat, which you should have by now. If not, please talk to another class member or myself. If any of you are interested in working in England, please message me and I will let you know more about that. There are some schools in England where you can study IELTS and other courses, and this particular school is near my hometown, so please go there if you want to study English. I hope you remember to log on to IQ Online. All of that information is at the front of the book. If you go to the front of your book, you can see there are steps to sign on for that, and I recommend you do that because some of the work that I'll ask you to do is online. Some of the listening activities are online, so I hope that you can do that. And here are the passwords for each class, so if you look at over them and then log on to that website that's at the front page of the book. This particular slide is the link to the project work. I hope that you're coming along with that, and make sure you have a team ready to finish that project, and all the information is on the table which you can get through the link. That link is found on any of the slides that I've sent to you via Kakao Open Chat, so you should be able to connect to that and start to work on that project. So this is the midterm test. It's for role plays, and if we've already done the midterm, then don't worry about this. But if we've not done it yet, please work through that and make sure you have a team and make sure everybody participates in the role play, and we'll do that at the appointed time for the midterms. So today's unit is all about change, and there's lots of things that have changed in your life, and even though this change is something that happens very naturally for people in their lives, I want us to focus on a fictional character in the Marvel universe who experienced a sort of dramatic change, and that is the Incredible Hulk. There's actually a lot of films and TV shows with this character, this fictional character, but one of my favorite versions of the character is in the Avengers Infinity Saga, and how he helps the Avengers. I know it's fictional and many people don't like Avengers, but I think he's an interesting character in the Marvel universe and in fiction. So if you can, I would like you to watch some video clips on YouTube about the Hulk and his transformation. If you know anything about the history of the Hulk, he was a doctor called Dr. Bruce Banner, who I think experimented with gamma radiation, and through the experiment an accident happened which led to him being affected by that and becoming the Hulk. And he transitions between Bruce Banner and the Hulk throughout the comic books and the movies, and the trigger for the change is his anger. When he gets angry, he turns into the Incredible Hulk, and then he likes to smash things. So at times this is positive for the Avengers because he uses his smashing power to defeat the enemy, but at other times when he gets angry, he can actually cause more harm to the Avengers. So it's one of those changes that he has that is both good and bad. Later on in the Avengers series, he does begin to take control of his powers and is able to become a more stable member of the Avengers, but initially it's too hard for him to control. And so if you can, watch a few of the movie clips on YouTube, and even read one of the comic books, one of the original ones, which was written by Stan Lee. Stan Lee is a very famous comic book writer from Marvel who had made comic books for a long time, including characters like Spider-Man and members of the Avengers. So yeah, I recommend reading about him. So what I want you to do now, either individually or with a group of friends from the class, is discuss the things that happen in relationships, either making up or breaking up, either getting together or at the end of a relationship. So I think most of us have either experienced being in a relationship or have known people in a relationship, and I guess we've also known of people who've broken up with their girlfriends and boyfriends. So here I want you to talk about the reasons why people come together. What starts a relationship? What is it about a relationship that makes two people come together. How do they do that? These days, often people use the internet to go on dates with people. They find people on dating apps or websites, or they try to meet people through a friend, like being introduced to somebody. And often people use kind of well, places like universities, campus couples, it's a very famous place for young people to meet. And well, and it's not just about meeting, because not everybody who meets or dates somebody marries that person. There's also times where the relationship isn't working and they have to end the relationship. And so how do people do that? Some people are very cold and unkind in their technique. They might just send a message through Kakao Talk to break up with a person or get somebody else to do it for them. Other people might say, no, I'm going to talk to them directly, give them the reasons why, be as compassionate and caring for that person as I can, and hopefully they won't be too broken-hearted. But usually when there's a breakup, people are often upset and they're often crying. That's very normal, and I'm sure you've heard of many experiences about that. I myself have been in relationships where I've broken up with them, and it's always very difficult for me or the other person to go through that time. Lots of things happen to people in their lives that are connected to change. So one of the things is people change houses a lot and move to different places and live in different cities, or move to university cities. And now I want us to talk about a kind of activity where you have to speak for 2 minutes without stopping, and you need to choose the theme. It has to be on the theme of change. You'll need to time yourself and perhaps record yourself too, and you have to avoid hesitations, okay? And you can try this with your teammates over Kakao Talk, and there's obviously a lot of themes that you can pick from when you talk about change. We've already talked about such things as superheroes who change, and you can talk about change in the weather, change in location, if you've moved a house. Lots of things change over time. So people change, don't they? Personalities can change. People make decisions about their life that leads to change that affects them and other people. There's lots of things that change us. So for example, if somebody has a really negative experience in their life, after that things often change for them. For example, if someone's had an accident or an injury that's affected them, things have to change after that so that they can live a more comfortable life. Sometimes someone has to change because they've lost their job, and they may have to retrain or change location or change their company, and so changes can happen for that reason too. Students often go through changes. Some students start their semester and then find it too difficult and want to change their degree to something else, so they have to change their course or even move to a different university. this can be a very challenging thing, and so students need to think about that too. People's hairstyles change just on the sort of more sort of micro scale. People change their appearances all the time. Fashion, the makeup they choose to wear, the clothing they choose to wear. Sometimes old age changes people, usually naturally, but not always to people's liking. So I want you to talk about something about change for 2 minutes without stopping, record it, and then compare that with your other team members using Kakao Talk. So now I want us to go to the book. So as I said before, we're on Unit 3, and Unit 3 is called Is Change Good or Bad? And there's 3 parts of the book I want us to look at today. The first part is on page 56. So in this part of the book, you will need to have access to the IQ online website. So hopefully you've already logged into that. If you haven't done that, I recommend you go back to the beginning of this video or look at any of the other PPTs I've sent you and get the class code for this class, and use the front of the book to give you access to the class code, the classroom that we're belonging to. So first of all, you'll need to use the access code, which is on the first page, and then just go in and enter all the details, and then you can choose the listening activities section, which is what we need to do for this part, listening 1. This is called on page 56, listening 1, changing expectations. You're going to listen to Gary McBride talk about how his life has changed after leaving a high-paying job on Wall Street to work in a small town in Iowa. As you listen to the talk, gather information and ideas about the advantages and disadvantages of change. Now, there's a preview section there, part A. Why do you think Gary wanted to do something different? And then there's some choices. So this is about predicting what the video, what he's going to say. Then there's some vocabulary in part B. I want you to look through the vocabulary and find the meaning in a dictionary. And there's 10 words there, some verbs, adverbs, nouns, and adjectives. Try to find the meaning of those. Then if you want to, you can do some more online practice there in part C on page 56. Then on page 57 you can work with the listening, so it's about note taking. So you can see there are 2 tables there. Part A, life as a city trader, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Part B, life as a home care assistant and the advantages and disadvantages of that job. There's also section C where you have to answer the questions, and then if you turn the page to page 58, part D is a true or false activity, and part F is the vocabulary section. You can also go to continue to do the discussion questions with people from your groups. For example, what did Gary learn by changing his career? Do you think the lesson will last? What benefits from his old job might Gary miss? Do you think you could change your life completely in this way? Why or why not? So the next section is on page 60, and this is about listening skills. So listening for time markers. When listening to a narrative, such as someone telling a story, it can be useful to listen for time markers. Time markers help to establish when something happened, for how long, etc. By listening for time markers, you can more easily understand past events and how they relate to one another. Here are some words and phrases that are commonly used as time markers. And there's a list there: now, nowadays, before, after, then, next, after that, 3 days ago, for 2 weeks, these days. Okay, so again, listen to Gary's talk. You can see that in question A, and match each of the marker with the event. So you need to match the left side to the right side. And then part B, think about changes that have happened in your life. And I think obviously the most relevant change that's happened to you recently is that you've come to a university. So think about that change and how that's affected you. So the next part of the book is on page 61. If we go there, again you'll need to have access to the IQ Online, and it's again a listening activity, and this time it's an interview with a woman called Barbara Ehrenreich, I think. You're going to listen to a radio interview with Barbara Ehrenreich, a well-known journalist and author. As you listen to the interview, gather information and ideas about the advantages and disadvantages of change. So she wants to do research. You can see that in part A, and she went undercover to do it. So I'm not quite sure what that means, but what do you think that might mean? Discuss that with some of your team members over Kakao. And then you've got some words here in the vocabulary. Again, try to pronounce them. Go on a dictionary, on internet dictionary, online dictionary, and look for the meaning of those words. And then you've got the listening part A. So you listen to the interview and then you take notes, and that's a little bit of help there for you. Part B, which goes from page 61 to 62, is a true or false quiz. Then part C is choosing the right answer, A, B or C. That goes to page 62. And then you've got 2 books there. I guess that's what she talked about. And you're meant to take notes in that blue table on page 63. Then there's a section about the vocabulary. So if you go onto that part E section, it's on page 63 and 64. Choose the correct answer for that. And for example, with that one, question number 1, it can be very difficult for people working in low-paying jobs to cope. So the word is cope. What does that mean? Manage financially, build relationships, or be happy? In my opinion, I think it means A, manage financially. And question 2, after working for 10 hours without a break, we were exhausted. Exhausted. So what does that one mean? Very excited, very bored, or very tired. Okay. Then go to page 65, and this is called Say What You Think, and it's discussion questions. So you've had to have done the listening to answer these. So part A, question 1, why do you think Nickel and Dimed was a bestseller? And what qualities do you think a person needs to go undercover as Ehrenreich did? Would you like to try doing this? Why or why not? And then before you watch the video, so there's a video, discuss these questions in a group. How easy do you think it is for someone to change careers? What are the challenges in changing to a completely different kind of job? What are the potential benefits? And so there's lots of discussion questions on that page. So work through them either alone or with your team members, or at least share some of your ideas with them on the Kakao Talk open chat. So what I want us to do now is look at some questions about going back to relationships really, and talk about those again. And some of the questions that I've put on this slide, if you can see that. First question says, it's the questions about the perfect mate. In other words, questions about choosing someone who would be good for you as a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife. And here's the first question: does he or she bring out the best in you? What does that mean? It means when she or he is with you, do you find that you are a better person with them being there? Or do you find that when you're with them, the relationship is very toxic, that you don't relate to each other very well? And so here's the second question: does he or she make you want to be a better person? So in other words, when you see them or when you meet them, Does he or she inspire you to try to be a better person, to not do bad things but to do good things for others, to not be a selfish person but to be a kind person to others? So is she or he helping you towards that goal? And here's another question, number 3. Does he or she make the ordinary seem extraordinary? In other words, when you're with them doing something really normal, perhaps shopping or eating food together or some chores around the house, does that chore or that small action somehow feel amazing because you are with that person when you're doing it? Does the person being there make your life feel extraordinary? Okay, so question number 4, does he or she make you feel safe? So we all know what it feels like to be scared. Now that's feeling safe is the opposite of feeling scared. If she or he makes you feel safe, you feel that you can trust them, that they won't let you down, that they won't cause anything to harm you in some way, that they are good for you, that the relationship is safe because you're with them. So that means you trust them a lot more, you believe in what they say. The next question, does he or she make you laugh, means when you're with them, when you talk to them, does she have a good sense of humor? Does he make you feel happy and does he make you laugh a lot? Often in relationships that are too serious, people find that they can't relax. If the relationship is relaxed and the person has a good sense of humor, then it makes life more enjoyable. Let's go to the next question. Do you enjoy talking to him or her? So when you're with them, do you just want to get out of the conversation as quickly as possible? Do they irritate you when you talk to them? Or are you happy talking to them? Do they make you feel better? Do they have stimulating conversation with you? Are they interesting people? And here's the next question, which I think is sometimes true of people but not always. Does he or she calm your storms or create your storms? In other words, do they bring in some advice or help you? Are they a good listener when you have a problem so that you can feel comforted by them when you're going through a difficult time? Or are they the one that causes your problems? Are they the ones that drive you to insanity? And do they create your storms? And do you have to turn to other people because of him or her? The next one, do you respect one another? Or that means basically, do you, even when they say stupid or dumb things, do you still respect them? Or do you roll your eyes and call them stupid? Because respect means, okay, even if you make a mistake, I'm still not going to let that mistake affect the way I think about you. I will always respect you. I will always treat you with respect, whether you are doing stupid things or good things. Do you argue the same way? Do you deal with your conflicts in a productive way? Or is the argument harming you and your self-esteem? So what is the arguments like? What are the arguments like that you have with them? Does he or she challenge you? In other words, are you growing as a person, or is she just not really encouraging you to grow? Are you growing in your life as a person? Is she just good on paper? Is she just good when you write it down? Or is she a really good person when you get to know them as well? Not just written down as a list of nice and positive things, but when you're with them, are they good people? Are they genuinely good people to be with? This is something you can't do alone. and so I recommend talking to group members. Again, use your Kakao Talk or find a way to communicate with them about this. I want you to prepare a role play. So in this role play you need maybe 3 to 4 people. You need your friend. In this role play, one of your friends has broken up with his or her girlfriend or boyfriend. Okay, so you'll need a friend, you'll need a boyfriend and girlfriend, okay, and then you'll need yourself, of course, and maybe another friend. They've been together for many years, so he or she feels really devastated. Devastated means heartbroken, really sad, feeling terrible about what happened and wishing it never had happened, and feeling really sad about it. Find out what happened, try to give him or her some advice. So I think the first thing is, of course, if you're going to do a role play like this, you need to think of the different reasons why people break up. You know, why do people break up? There's lots of reasons why people break up. You know, if I can if I can think of a few reasons why, I might say things like I don't know, money always seems to be a reason. Another one could be when you argue, you don't talk. When you fall out, when you have a dispute, when you're not happy with each other, you don't talk about the problem. So that could be one reason. And talking is really important. And another reason could be that when there's a problem, you have 2 different ways of dealing with the problem. When there's a problem, you might think, no, let's deal with it this way, but he or she might disagree with your method and think that's not going to work. And so that could be another reason when you disagree about how to deal with the problem. Another problem might happen because of unrealistic expectations. Somebody expects you to be perfect, but unfortunately in reality nobody is perfect, right? So it could be for that reason, that he or she expected the other person to be perfect. Another reason for relationship breakdowns is the motive or the reason for being in the relationship in the first place is because of fear of being alone, and that puts pressure on the relationship. And sometimes of loneliness, people need to put boundaries in place to say, listen, I need my own space. And so the other problem could be not being able to communicate other than using body language. That can put somebody off a relationship. And comparison. I think comparing your boyfriend or girlfriend with somebody else all the time can really be a terrible problem for the relationship. And another problem could be refusing to compromise and come to an agreement about something where both of you have a win-win in the relationship. Another one could be you just don't have similar ways to express your feelings. Another problem could be you look down on your husband or partner, which is obviously really terrible. Another one could be angry with each other, but the anger is about something else, and you just focus on that person to deal with your anger. Another one could be not forgiving things that have happened in the past, not trusting somebody because you've had a lot of bad experiences, drinking too much, having too many secrets, never taking the blame and always denying that you did something wrong, not empathizing with the other person. No, there's a lot of disrespect. Something terrible happened while you were dating with that person. There's the lack of money lack of trust with money, if you're very self-centered, if you don't know how to say thank you, if you're looking to that person to validate you all the time. So there's a number of reasons why relationships break up. Think about these reasons and perhaps put these into this role play between about two people breaking up, and trying to change the other person might be another one, and just always staying at home and never going out and having fun, not listening, getting married too early, not being prepared for marriage, being too early to have kids, too quickly having children, not compatible in other ways, too intimate maybe, or just not compatible, or cheating as well. So lots of reasons why relationships break up, and try to integrate those into this role play. So this is from the grammar which is in the book. If you want to know more about the grammar, you can find it on page 68. And page 68 is about tag questions. Tag questions are common in everyday conversation. You can use a tag question to keep a conversation going by asking a person for her opinion about a situation. Tag questions are formed by adding a short yes/no question at the end of a statement. If the statement is positive, the tag question is negative. If the statement is negative, the tag question is positive. The subject of a tag question is the pronoun form of the subject of the statement. The verb in a tag question is a form or part of the main verb in the statement. If the statement contains an auxiliary verb or modal, use the auxiliary verb or modal in the tag question. If the statement does not contain an auxiliary verb or modal, use a form of do in the tag question. So let's look at number 1. You like driving your car, haven't you? Well, there's a problem there. It's not correct. Number 2. Your mum likes to cook for you, did she? That's wrong as well. This school is one of the best, hasn't it? He has been to the USA, isn't he? Do you drink too much at weekends, are you? The professor looked professional, has he? The winter is too cold around here, hasn't it? They are interested in history, haven't they? So there's a lot of problems here. The first question, if we go back, it's got like, and it doesn't have a auxiliary verb or modal, so it has to be do. You like driving your car, and then it's you, so it's you do, and it's a negative, so you don't. Okay, you like driving your car, don't you? Okay. Number 2, again, it's like, so it's got to be a do, but it's like in the present tense. Your mum likes to cook for you, and it's got to be negative, and it's third person single, mum, so it would be doesn't she. This school is one of the best, and so we've got is the verb, okay, and in this case it's a positive statement and it's not an action word, so a verb you should use is again, and in this case this school is one of the best, isn't it, because of the negative. He has been to the USA, we have an auxiliary here, has, and so we have to make that negative, and it's he has, so hasn't he. He has been to the USA, hasn't he? Okay. And number 5, you drink too much you drink too much at weekends. So here we got drink, and it's a verb which is action in a way, so it has no auxiliary at the moment, so we have to use do. So you drink too much at weekends, don't you? So we have to change it to negative. professor looked professional, and it was past tense there, so it's did, didn't he. The winter is too cold around here. Is again, so, and it's a negative, isn't it. Okay, they are interested in history. They are is the auxiliary verb here, aren't they? Okay, so that's how you would answer those questions. So the first question here, these are grammar questions again about tag questions, which you can find on page 68. The first one: you have a suit you wear to interviews, haven't you? Because you used the word have, or don't you would be probably better. You have a suit you wear to interviews, don't you? He is becoming a more decisive person. He is becoming a more decisive person. Isn't he? He is becoming a more decisive person. Isn't he? She has been to many interviews. We've got has, which is the auxiliary verb. She has been to many interviews. Hasn't she? Right? Hasn't she? They have tried to improve their characters. Haven't they? Okay, you need to create a good first impression, so the verb is need. Don't we? Okay, she has the right shade of lipstick, so we've got has, but don't forget it's not in this case an auxiliary verb, so we're going to say do. She has the right shade of lipstick, doesn't she? So we use does because it's she, right? Doesn't she? You are getting ready to meet your professor, and then we've got are there as a helping verb, aren't you? She's speaking to the manager now. Okay, and again we can say isn't she? Alright, so that would be that one, if you can work through that. So this last bit is about music and movies which are connected to the theme of change, and there's a few movies here that I've put in. The first one is called Life is Beautiful. This is a little bit of a controversial movie, and not everybody liked it. It got some critics very upset. It's a movie about a Jewish family from Italy who were put into the concentration camps in World War II, and the child was very young, so the father tries to pretend it's just a game so that the child will not be affected by the difficulties that people faced within the camp. And it's all about the effort this man puts in to help the child be as happy as he could, despite all the terrible things that were happening around him in the camp. So some people felt it made light of a serious topic and shouldn't really have been made. So another film here, the third film is The Royal Tenenbaums. That's about a family. It's a Wes Anderson movie. He's a really great director, made lots of films such as Fantastic Mr. Fox and the Budapest Hotel, and then the last movie there is Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. I'd say it's a good film, but there's some scenes in there that maybe aren't very nice, and it's a kind of science fiction type movie, comedy, and a little bit fun, I suppose, but also not very healthy all the time. On the other list you've got lots of songs about change, and so there's the Michael Jackson song Man in the Mirror, that's really famous, and then there's David Bowie's Changes, Keane wrote a song called Everybody's Changing, and the bottom, The Times Are Changing by Bob Dylan, and the Changing Man by Paul Weller is also a really good song. So if you want, I'd recommend watching those movies about change and those songs too. So that's the end of the video, and I hope to see you at the next class. Have a great evening.